Have you ever felt like there's this massive, invisible wall standing between you and the life you actually want? For years, that was me. And that wall? It was built by one single paralyzing fear, the fear of rejection. It controlled my choices, it completely silenced my voice, and it stopped me from making any real connections. Then, one day, I just decided I was done running. I launched a crazy personal social experiment to basically walk right into the fire of rejection, again and again and again. And what I found out wasn't just surprising, it changed everything. You won't believe this. For as long as I can remember, the fear of rejection was like this tiny little tyrant in my head. And it wasn't just about the huge stuff, it was in the everyday moments, every single day. In dating, oh man, it meant so many missed connections. I'd replay conversations, wondering if I'd said the wrong thing, or worse, I'd say nothing at all, just letting potential relationships totally die before they even got a chance. With friendships, it was this insane hesitation to reach out, to be vulnerable, to even try making new friends because the thought of someone not liking me or not wanting to hang out felt like a direct hit. I'd be in social spots, wanting to connect, but that fear would whisper, "They won't like you, don't even bother." So a lot of the time I didn't. It was awful. At work, that's where it got really sneaky. I'd have ideas, insights I knew could be good, but the fear of my boss or colleagues shooting them down, of looking like a total idiot, just kept my mouth shut. Chances for growth, for leadership, for making a real difference, they just slipped away. Not because I wasn't capable, but because I was too scared to put myself out there. Now this fear is superhuman, right? Psychology tells us it's wired into our evolution, back when fitting in was literally about survival. Our brains are kind of programmed to see rejection as a threat. And mine? It was on high alert all the time. It showed up as social anxiety, avoiding new things, and just this deep reluctance to be my true self. I was living in this invisible cage I'd built myself, and the world outside felt so close yet totally out of reach. I realized all this dodging, this constant tiptoeing around potential no's, was just leading to a life full of quiet regret and missed opportunities. There wasn't one big dramatic moment, more like this slow burn of being unhappy, this growing feeling that the life I was living and the one I really wanted were miles apart. It hit me that *I* was the common factor in all my missed connections, all the words I never said, all the dreams I didn't chase. The pain of staying the same finally got worse than the fear of changing. Honestly, I was just tired of being a bystander in my own life. And that's when the idea sparked. What if, instead of running away from rejection, I actually went looking for it? What if I treated it like an experiment, a social experiment on myself, for myself? The idea was simple, but also terrifying. Intentionally put myself in situations where rejection wasn't just possible, but pretty likely. I'd read about people like Jia Zhang and his 100 Days of Rejection, and while it sounded pretty extreme, the basic idea really clicked. The goal wasn't really about getting yeses, it was about getting used to the no's, to take away rejection's power. It felt like deciding to walk straight into a hurricane, hoping to find some calm on the other side. I decided I'd try all sorts of things, from small everyday asks to bigger, more vulnerable requests, across all the parts of my life where fear had me trapped. This was going to be wild. Those first few attempts, yeah, they were awkward, painfully awkward. My heart would be pounding, palms sweating, just asking for something silly like a discount I didn't really expect to get at a coffee shop, or asking a stranger for directions when I could have easily used my phone. The no's, when they came, definitely stung. Each one felt like proof of my inadequacy. There were times I seriously wanted to quit, to just run back to my comfort zone where it was safe, even if it was boring. I started small, like a lot of people who've done this kind of thing suggest. Asking for an extra napkin when I already had one. Asking if I could sit at an already taken table in a crowded cafe. So nerve-wracking. These little rejections were still uncomfortable, but I could handle them. I kept a journal, writing down not just what happened, but how I felt before, during, and after each try. Slowly, I started to ramp up the difficulty. I began starting conversations with strangers at social events, fully expecting them to make an excuse and bail. Sometimes they did, and you know what? It was okay. I survived. I asked for book recommendations at bookstores, then actually chatted about the books with the staff. I pitched a small, kind of out there idea at a work meeting, my voice shaking a bit. It wasn't accepted, but the world didn't end. My colleagues didn't laugh me out of the room, like the time I asked a group playing frisbee in the park if I could join, and they politely said their game was almost over, or asking for a particularly ridiculous favor that just got a blank stare and a quick no. But with every single try, something started to change. The rejections still weren't fun, but that paralyzing fear, the whole sky is falling, thinking that used to come with them, started to fade. I was learning slowly but surely that rejection was rarely personal. People said no for their own reasons, often nothing to do with me at all. This whole desensitization thing, the stuff people like Jia talked about, it was actually working. The initial terror started turning into this weird kind of curious anticipation. Like, what's gonna happen this time? And then came the part I totally didn't expect. It wasn't one huge dramatic moment, but more like a bunch of small surprising things that added up to this massive realization. The really unexpected thing wasn't just that I became less scared of no. It was that I started getting a surprising number of yeses. And even more important, I found out that the interaction itself, the act of just asking, of putting myself out there, was often more rewarding than whether I got a yes or a no. This is insane. I asked someone I really admired if they'd have a quick virtual coffee so I could pick their brain, fully expecting to be ignored or politely turned down. They said yes. I shared a piece of creative writing I'd kept hidden for years with a small online group, bracing myself for criticism. Instead, I got constructive feedback and even some praise. Someone actually connected with it. Unbelievable. One day, I gave myself a particularly tough rejection task. I decided to ask a local bakery if they'd consider making a small, custom-shaped cookie for no special reason. Just a weird request. The owner didn't just say no. She asked why ? That simple question opened up a whole conversation. She couldn't do the custom cookie on short notice, but she showed me other unique things they had. We chatted about baking, and I left with a delicious pastry and a genuinely lovely interaction. No custom cookie, so technically a rejection, right? But it didn't feel like one. It felt like connection. That was the turning point. I realized my fear wasn't just about hearing no. It was about the fear of being seen as unworthy, of being disconnected. But by facing rejection, I was accidentally creating more chances for connection, not fewer. People were often kinder, more understanding, or sometimes just plain indifferent. Way more than my fear had ever let me believe. Jia found this too. A lot of rejections weren't actually painful, and some requests were surprisingly accepted. The world wasn't the harsh, judgmental place I'd built up in my head. The mental shift was happening. Rejection wasn't a judgment on my self-worth. It was just a piece of data, an outcome of trying. And sometimes that outcome was a yes, a new friend, a new opportunity, or just a pleasant chat with a stranger. The unexpected outcome was that in looking for rejection, I found acceptance from others, and more importantly, from myself. Mind blown. This new way of looking at things started to seep into every part of my life. It wasn't like a switch flipped overnight, but more like I was gradually rewriting all those old, fear-based rules in my head. In dating, I started being more direct, saying what I felt without stressing over the perfect words or the right time. Some people weren't interested, and that was okay. The sting was there, but I could handle it. But others, were interested, and those connections felt way more real because was being more real. At work, I started speaking up more in meetings, sharing my ideas even if they weren't perfectly polished. Some got debated, some got dismissed, but some were actually put into action. My confidence grew with every try, no matter what happened. I was building resilience, that ability to bounce back from setbacks, which I now get is like a muscle. You have to use it to make it stronger. Friendships got deeper because I was more willing to be vulnerable, to share what I was really thinking and feeling, to be the one to make plans. I even made a few new friends, something I hadn't done in years, just by striking up conversations and actually following through. The fear hadn't completely disappeared, but it wasn't in charge anymore. It was more like a backseat driver, occasionally making noise, but definitely not steering the car. This journey has been so personal for me, but I know this fear is something so many of us deal with. Have you ever let the fear of rejection hold you back from something you really wanted? I'd genuinely love to hear about your experiences. Share your story in the comments below. Let's learn from each other. Come on, guys! Looking back, life before this whole experiment feels like it was in black and white, and now it's like everything's bursting with color. The biggest change isn't that the fear is gone, but that courage is here. My dating life is more active and, honestly, more fun, because I'm going into it with curiosity instead of dread. My friendships feel richer and more genuine because I'm showing up as all of me. At work, I'm taking on more challenges, contributing in bigger ways, and I even got great feedback on my increased initiative. This is huge. The key lessons I learned are surprisingly simple, but also pretty deep. First, rejection is rarely as bad as our minds make it out to be. More often than not, it's not personal. Second, the act of facing your fear of just trying is a win in itself. It builds self-respect and resilience like nothing else. Third, vulnerability. The very thing I was terrified of is actually the doorway to connection. And super importantly, self-compassion is key. Treating yourself with kindness, especially when you do get a no, is what makes this whole thing doable in the long run. I also learned how important setting boundaries is. Sometimes saying no yourself or accepting a no from others is all about respecting everyone's limits. This whole experience has been about avoiding less, facing the discomfort, and realizing that on the other side of that discomfort is growth, opportunity, and a much, much fuller life. It's absolutely insane. This experiment started as my way to face down my fear of rejection, but it ended up being a journey to get my life back. It taught me that the limits we think we have are usually ones we've put on ourselves. And while my experiment was about rejection, the idea applies to any fear that's got you feeling stuck. You don't have to do 100 days of anything crazy, but what if you took one small step today to face something that scares you? What if you sent that email, made that call, spoke that truth you've been holding back? The outcome might be rejection. It might be acceptance. But the one thing I can pretty much guarantee is that you will be changed just by trying. You'll be stronger, more resilient, and a little bit freer. If this story resonated with you, if it sparked something, please smash that thumbs up button and subscribe for more journeys into personal growth. Let's go! And maybe more importantly, take one tiny step today to face a fear of your own. What could your unexpected outcome be? You might just surprise yourself with what you find. Do it!